this video is about leaky gut, and it's probably going to be 2 videos because it's a lot, and there's a lot you need to know and why things happen and how to fix them. So bear with me. It's a lot of science, and that was not my subject in high school. So what leaky gut includes is everything from your stomach, your small and large intestines, your colon, your liver, and your gallbladder. So that is what they consider the gut. It's the whole digestive process. So when you hear the term leaky gut, it kind of seems like there's things leaking out, like of your intestines or out of your stomach. That's not leaky gut. That's perforated bowel, which would cause fever, bleeding, sepsis. You're going to the hospital, getting surgery. So it's not actually leaking gut, and I will explain that as we go on, where that term kind of came from. So in your intestines, you have millions and millions of flora or good bacteria, and that all helps break down the food you eat. It helps it get delivered to their microhairs in the intestine to go to the blood vessels to be delivered to your body. And all nutrition happens in your gut. All disease happens in your gut as well. So like if you have a lower GI bug, you know it, and you know it's not good times. But all your nutrition, all your food doesn't actually get absorbed in your stomach. It gets absorbed in your gut or your intestines. When you have problems in your gut, it can be a result from everything from indigestion, gas, bloating, all the way down to E. coli, H. pylori, C. diff, which are hateful things if you've ever had to deal with them. You want to avoid that at all costs. So I'm going to go through the process of what actually happens a little bit so you understand where the breakdown is happening and where all these terms are coming in and what the process is. So when I do the video on how to fix it, you understand, well, this is why this happens. So when you eat, your food mixes with saliva, goes to your stomach to be broken down by hydrochloric acid and the enzymes that you have in your stomach. Then it gets broken down, so that breaks it down into small pieces. Then it gets broken down further into your intestines where it goes into micronutrients. And then ideally in a perfect world, there's sirens, never a dull moment in New York. So that gets delivered to your intestines, it gets delivered to all your organs, your bloodstream, and that's what happens when everything's going right. If you eat a diet high in protein, high in animal protein, high in dairy, it's extremely hard and extremely taxing on your stomach to break down. So that's where problems start to happen. So if you're eating like a low-carb diet, you're going to have very tough times with digestion, tough time going to the bathroom. Fruits and vegetables are the easiest to digest, and literally if you eat an orange, it gets digested within like 20 to 30 minutes. It literally, if you eat an orange by itself with nothing else, 20 to 30 minutes and it's halfway down your intestines. So simply because they're plants, they have living enzymes in them. So it's easier for that to be broken down, where we're kind of not meant to eat so much flesh and mucus dairy. So what happens if your hydrochloric acid levels are low? You don't digest food properly, and the food literally rots in your intestines. So if you'll get some bloating, you'll get constipation. If you're one of these people who will tell me you only poop every 3 to 4 days, that's not a good thing. And that very nasty smell, like if you poop and it can clear the room or clear the house, that's from food rot, and the gas is coming off of the rotting food, especially if it's animal protein or like a lot of junk pizza, a lot of pastas, that kind of thing. And it'll result in some fatigue, and then if it continues day after day, you eat like that day after day, it will lead to the bigger problems like Crohn's disease, that kind of thing. So you really want to make sure that ideally that your food's broken down the best as it can, so everything's smooth, flowing right through, smooth as it can be. The number one cause of low hydrochloric acid. Now, you have acids in your stomach, and this is not what causes acid reflux. Hydrochloric acid is what you want. More people have low hydrochloric acid than high, so it's really not a problem. What happens is when people have high acids, actually other things that are being termed acid. So, and when I talked about the alkaline acid video a couple things back, so that's what I'm talking about when it's acid. So cortisol, adrenaline are number one causes of low hydrochloric acid. Both are very, very high acidic substances and have a very caustic effect on your stomach. So if you're somebody who's constantly stressed, under a lot of physical stress, emotional stress, you have a high pressure job, you're going to have a lot of adrenaline, a lot of cortisol. So that actually lowers your hydrochloric acid, and your bad acid or adrenaline goes way up. So the balance is really thrown off, and you can't digest food right. So that's where the Tums and the Maalox and all those things come in to try to neutralize it, which actually, is not your best answer, and that's not going to fix your low hydrochloric acid problem. Another thing, prescription drugs, very acidic, very caustic effect on your stomach, on your intestines. Steroids, antibiotics, probably, I think a lot of people have heard that antibiotics have a very damaging effect. They actually kill the good flora in your gut. And if you're someone who takes antibiotics, doctors will give it for anything from a viral infection to acne to simple things. They seem to hand out antibiotics left and right. So if you're taking these maybe 3, 4, 5 or more times a year, you probably have next to no good flora in your gut, and you should have millions. So it really destroys that, and that makes you susceptible to E. coli, to H. pylori, to C. diff. And if you get those diseases, they're very difficult to treat, they're very difficult to live with, and they're very difficult to get rid of. So you want to do everything you can to keep your gut healthy, in line, flowing. So when you have a low hydrochloric acid and your food's rotting, it creates this ammonia gas. And that's where, like, if you eat a pizza or you eat a big bowl of ice cream or go out for ribs or whatever, and you get that people call food baby. Yeah, there's food moving through you, but it's creating a lot of gas, and that's where the bloating comes from. And this, I have a food baby. No, you have a whole lot of gas in your stomach, and then it's starting to go into your intestines. So this ammonia gas actually is able to float out of the intestines into your bloodstream. So that's where its technical term is intestinal permeability, and that's where the term leaky gut comes from, because it's able to, it's not actually a substance, it's a gas moving out of your intestines and will actually permeate into your bloodstream. What does that mean to you? If the ammonia is coming into your bloodstream, it will cause malabsorption of nutrients. So there's hundreds and hundreds of people who are overweight, eat a lot, but they're eating things like pizza, french fries, chips, soda, things that don't have a whole lot of nutritional value. So they're literally overfed but malnourished, because they have so much ammonia gas that what little nutrients that they are taking in are not being absorbed, because they have low hydrochloric acid, they have rot in their intestines. The ammonia is prohibiting any kind of absorption of nutrients for what every organ needs. So then you result in weight gain, acne, fatigue, anxiety, all the way down to autoimmune disorders, lupus, gluten sensitivity, all these things. So over time, if you have a diet that's high in animal protein, you have a high acidic, you're drinking soda, you're smoking cigarettes, you're doing this, you're doing that, you have a high stress life, high stress job, over time, your gut becomes so overworked and strained, your hydrochloric acid burns out, your enzymes burned out, and then that basically takes everything else with it. Your thyroid, your adrenal glands, your liver, all these major endocrine processes will just stop. So when they stop and they're struggling, literally everything else, your hair falls out, your nails break, you have skin problems, eczema, psoriasis. So, you know, the human body is extremely complicated, and when one of these processes breaks down, it literally takes everything with it. So it's kind of like a car. You know, if you take the starter out of the car, the thing doesn't start. You know, everything is important. Everything has a purpose in getting you from point A to point B. Same with the human body. Everything has a purpose. Everything is meant for a reason. And when you disrupt one system, you disrupt all the systems. Kind of like, you know, you mess with me, you mess with my whole family kind of thing. So what I'm trying to do with these videos is there's an order I'm trying to go in, so one builds upon the previous one. So that's why I needed you to understand why I juice and what all of that entails, and the alkaline diet, and getting off the prescription drugs, and removing the heavy metals and toxins out of your body. So all these things that I talk about and I do are all guinea pig tested on myself first. I don't feel like I can talk about anything that I haven't literally lived through. So back in the olden days, I used to eat a diet that was high protein, low carb. You know, I drank that Kool-Aid, and it was probably the most miserable time of my life. Physically, I felt the worst that I've ever felt. Going to the bathroom was a nightmare. And I know not everybody likes to talk about that, but everybody poops. Everybody should poop. I mean, minimum, you should be pooping once a day. You have to eliminate the toxins. For good health, 2 times a day. For even better health, 3 times a day. Now, this is a diet full of fruits and vegetables that have the roughage, that have the fiber, all the things that are going to keep your colon healthy, your intestines healthy. You definitely don't want colon cancer, any kind of cancer to develop down in that area, because I can attest to you that working where I work and having to deal with colostomy bags are no fun at all, and I can't imagine having to live with one, because most of the time it's irreversible. So I just want you to understand that there's a reason for all of this, and one thing builds upon the previous. So I'm going to wrap this up here. Hope I didn't bore you with too much science, and then we're going to tell you what to do to fix it in the next video, so stick around.